Thank you for joining IAB There.
Good afternoon, and welcome to IAB's daily live stream in which we connect the digital advertising ecosystem. My name is Angelina Eng, VP of Measurement and Attribution here at the IAB. On today's show, we are excited to speak with our special guest, John Lavecchia of DoubleVerify, where we'll be discussing driving performance in the age of privacy. John Lavecchia is DoubleVerify's SVP of Brand Partnership and Advertising Sales, responsible for revenue strategy, growth and operational leadership across the Americas. John has spent his 20 plus years in driving digital and mobile transformation in partnership with some of the world's most recognized brands and agencies, including Digitas, Microsoft, Group M, and most recently, Teams. Let's welcome John to the screen. Hi, John.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So thank you for joining us today. I'm very excited to have you. It's been quite a while since we last connected, so really good to see you. So why don't you just give a little bit of background about what you do and what are some of the things that you're focusing on at DoubleVerify before we start?
Of course. Thanks so much. And it's always great to see you, and it's been a long time. Certainly. So at a background level, I lead brand and agency partnerships for the Americas at DoubleVerify. I've been here for 2+ years. I'm focused on mobilizing our sales efforts in the Americas. My background is 15+ years in agency environments, so I bring a slightly different perspective to a sales leadership role. At DV, we're focused on obviously providing the biggest, most ambitious brands in the world with forward-leaning verification services, but we've expanded significantly beyond that realm, and we're going to dig into some of those topics today.
Great. So topic is on privacy, and it's not often that people take privacy and verification, or talk about verification and privacy in the same sense. So how does the new regulations that you're seeing either that have developed or are coming down the pipeline, how is that impacting brand safety and ad verification?
Sure. So great question. I think the easiest way to answer this is that DV has always been privacy safe by design. We've never been reliant on personally identifiable information or leverage cookies in any way. So the short answer is really there's no effect on our core business. However, if I'm able to take a quick step back and just paint a little bit of a broader picture to illuminate some of the opportunities that we see ahead of us. So as we all know, over the last several years, there's been massive disruption and evolution in the data and privacy space. Up until very recently, you have brands actively leveraging third-party data sets to drive more precision and impact out of their marketing investments. As we continue to move down the path of a post-regulatory environment on both GDPR and CCPA and the impending deprecation of cookies, it's created an entirely unique and challenging environment for marketers. So it does beg the question, how can we help marketers best navigate the complexities of this new marketplace and help them extract the full potential out of their marketing investments? At DV, we've developed a new market solution that is fundamentally designed to empower brands with richer, more actionable insights rooted in attention measurement.
Now, with all the changes like with iOS 14 and Privacy Sandbox, there's lots of changes that's going to happen with targeting and measurement. And I know that with DoubleVerify, you've come out with this philosophy of attention signals. So why do you think that attention signals matter in this new reality?
Sure. So, I think as we all know, driving attention remains one of the most challenging objectives that any marketer is out there pursuing. It's absolutely finite and genuinely a limited resources that brands have always tried to activate on an ongoing basis with their audiences. At DV, we've always focused on identifying privacy-safe signals that offer data agility, thoughtful decision intelligence, and precision, right? And as we look towards a future that is cookieless by design, we've begun ingesting these attention signals to help give us additional depth and texture to drive better performance.
Now, can you define attention? What does that actually mean? Like, what are some of the metrics that are behind it?
Sure. So, fundamentally, our proposition here is that we're evolving from protection to performance, right? And as we think about the evolution from media quality, which is where we've made our hay over the last few years, with our hero atomic unit, the DV Authentic Ad, which is that singular and definitive measure of media quality, ensuring each and every impression is brand safe, fraud-free, viewable, and delivered in the right geography. Now, starting with that really powerful baseline, we start to look at privacy safe attention signals at the impression level against two specific performance cohorts. We look at engagement metrics, which are fundamentally designed to measure and confirm that there's actually a user present. And we're also measuring the general depth of participation with that ad experience. And then on the exposure front, we're measuring both prominence and intensity, right? So measuring metrics including viewable time, share of screen, the actual presentation of the video itself. The combination of these two indices powered the attention index, again, to which is that lever and the foundation of our authentic attention product proposition to help our marketers drive the greatest impact and really understand what the true drivers of success are for their campaigns.
So how do you see marketers actually using these signals? Like, is it more of a post-performance analysis, or is this in some cases something that can happen, that can provide signals in real time?
Certainly. So the authentic attention is an index, as I mentioned earlier, that is based on a rolling 28-day cycle. So it is leveraging every data signal that DV is capturing. And while the promise, we often hear the promise of real time across the industry, while we're certainly gathering signals in real time, the ability to action in real time is perhaps overstated. The idea here is that you're now getting new performance intelligence, understanding, for example, what creatives are working hardest for you, what combination of creative site and placements are driving the most efficiency. Really giving a little bit deeper texture, a little bit of deeper understanding, again, of what's driving performance. These are elements that often aren't identified as the leading indicators. But again, as we're operating in this new world where cookies are no longer part of the equation, and again, if marketers haven't invested in building out those first-party data sets, many marketers are left flying blind. And we believe this is a really interesting complement to their existing data sets, even if they do have a robust first-party data solution in play. But we believe there's quite a bit of optimization and, frankly, targeting insight that can be gleaned from the product.
Sounds great. So most of the time, people consider brand safety ad verification platforms as tools that the media buying and analytics team uses. But as you begin to extend that attention-based strategy, do you see an application for creative agencies or other teams to engage with Double Verify?
Sure, great question. So, my background, as I mentioned, I spent a broad majority of my career in agency environments. Much of that time was spent in digital and creative agencies. So I actually believe this tool could be immeasurably valuable for creative directors, especially those creating assets for display and video assets. Again, that audience is craving for this level of understanding, right? They're craving to understand how audiences are engaging with ads, which ones are resonating, what combination of headline, call to action, and imagery are driving the greatest response. And again, understanding the relationship between the creative asset and placement at the property level. We can get very granular with the analysis. And again, as for those creatives that are data hungry and understand that data informs insights, insights drive strategy, it has the potential of being a critical tool for broader teams, but creative directors, I think, could see a tremendous amount of value here.
Now, you and I worked at Modem Media, where you ran media, I ran marketing for some of our accounts, and in some cases we worked together on the same account. And we had a really strong philosophy of integrating creative into that process. You don't see that quite often in current times, right? You have media agencies that are very separate from creative. They're not often from the same organization. How are you helping the media teams kind of get them, what advice do you have for them to bring, to help them leverage some of the data that they're seeing from your platform? Because it's not often times that you do see that happening.
Sure. So again, I'm such a believer in the integration between media and creative. I I still don't understand why these worlds were separated way back when. But I'm actually, in some instances, seeing those two worlds come back together. Media teams, analytics teams, ad ops teams have historically been the primary audience for us. And they continue to be a critically important cohort. They're most leaned in on campaign decisioning, on placement development, on media plan strategy, et cetera. But again, those teams that work in absolute parallel with their creative partners, I've always believed, and I continue to believe, really bring customer insight to the forefront, really understand how messaging and context really are critically important. And if I'm going back, way too many years to mention here, 20 plus years, understanding the relationship between the creative message and the environment in which it's being delivered sounds so fundamental. But now we're finding ourselves talking about contextual marketing as a really elegant solution for this post-cookie environment. Of course, I'm super bullish, but it's also not an entirely new idea, as you know.
Well, great transition over to my next question, which is around contextual targeting. A lot of people, a lot of experts are saying that contextual is going to see a resurgence after the cookie disappears. It sounds like you are an advocate for contextual. How do you see contextual evolving, and how, what are some of the things that you're helping publishers in the contextual space?
Certainly. So, in my previous life at Teads, actually, context was a key differentiator for us at the time. And I remember, this is now 2 or 3 years ago, I made this comment: context is the new black. And this was, 2.5 years before our current state. And I'm not saying I'm a soothsayer at all, but it was obvious that the tea leaves were suggesting the world was going to look quite different. And the timeline associated that was going to look quite different. And it was going to happen faster than any of us thought. So while context is the new black, I would argue that contextual alignment is fundamental to media planning. So tapping into those mindsets, as I just mentioned, aligning messaging with audience expectations, and again, mindset, are ultimately what's going to drive the greatest success, right? We can help illuminate those killer signals, right, to help you understand what combination are driving the impact. But that's quite important. So now, as we're looking at this post-cookie world, and audiences are trying to gain, as brands are trying to gain better insight into their audiences, what their motivators are, what their interests are, what their consumption patterns are, contextual becomes a really powerful lever to give you that richness that, again, we may be losing with cookies being turned off.
Yeah, and I think that you guys are in a prime position, because since you see all these contextual signals coming from the publishers, you have a way of categorizing the content, and perhaps even from an analytics standpoint, tying that all together, right, in a more standardized way. And oftentimes that's really difficult just looking at an ad server report.
Yep.
And go ahead.
I'm sorry, I stepped on your question there. What was that? What was the close of that?
So I guess my next question for you is, like, where does, so when it comes to contextual with brand suitability, brand safety, like and a lot of advertisers that are asking for sentiment, is that something that DoubleVerify is working on at all?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So contextual targeting is a new feature that we've launched broadly late last year. And that is a pre-bid offering that allows us to, again, identify really powerful targeting segments that marketers can, again, tap into. As it relates to authentic attention and the core proposition that we've been talking about today, as that product continues to evolve, we're starting to look at contextual measurement. So you've got targeting and measurement, which, again, is going to provide that really unique perspective into, again, what are the drivers of engagement, right? What are the drivers of performance, which are really important. But as I mentioned earlier, there are many marketers out there that have already been investing in first-party data sets for years at this point. And those folks are obviously exceptionally well positioned for the future. But they're still going to struggle with the opportunity and need to expand those audiences, right? So first-party data sets are finite by design. So how are they going to bring new consumers into the fold? One way that contextual insight, adds more depth, is to overlay it across those first party data sets to give them deeper signals to understand, again, what does Ang, without knowing who you are, anything like, what is your profile beyond what I've already captured historically? Do I know to use, to date myself, going back to Takota, which is a company I remember having such heart and fondness for, which was one of the earliest behavioral targeting companies out there. You know, the analogy they would often use is, you know, I didn't realize, John, that you were so deeply into basket weaving, right? But that's a unique nugget that frankly you wouldn't understand until you understood what those consumption patterns are, and understanding the type of content that individual regularly consumes.
Wait, are you really into basket weaving?
I am. I love it. It's fantastic. But again, it's just additional depth. It's additional texture. And again, going back to messaging and driving maximum impact, it's really about driving relevance. And again, all of these components add a lot of richness to our existing data sets.
Well, thank you for joining us here. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, we are at an end, but I think what you guys are doing at Double Verify is extremely important and valuable, and the work that you guys are doing is just phenomenal. So I look forward to seeing more from you guys and hearing about what the next thing is.
Right on. Excellent. Thanks so much, Ange. Great seeing you, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So thank you for joining us at IAB There. I'm your host, Angelina Ang, VP of Measurement and Attribution. To learn more about IAB There, you can go to iab.com/there. Also visit us at iab.com for other events that we're hosting. I'm Angelina Ang. You can reach me at angelina@iab.com. IAB There is a production of the Interactive Advertising Bureau. Our show today was produced by Connor Healy, James Lee, Joe Pilla, and Loretta Bean. Again, I'm Angelina Ang. Thank you for watching.